Today we're going to be talking about how basketball has evolved over the years since its inception as a sport initially. So as basketball has continued its development as a sport, it's progressively changed from a game dominated by big men to a more guard-oriented league, meaning instead of the tallest players on the court being the most important, it's now the shortest. Back in the 20th century, centers were seen as the core of a team. Athletes like Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Russell, and eventually Shaquille O'Neal were the stars of the NBA. Now in today's NBA, the highest scoring players are typically some of the shortest on a basketball court. Part of the sport's evolution can be attributed to its recent three-point revolution. More teams across the league are shooting three-pointers at an increased rate, with higher success rates of players hitting these shots. Star player Stephen Curry is perhaps the best example of this, an undersized guard who has dominated the league by hitting three-point shot after three-point shot. Each season, NBA teams are taking more three-point shots. In the 1979 to 1980 NBA season, NBA teams averaged only 2.4 three-point attempts per game. In the 2017 to 2018 season, teams averaged 29. In the 2015 to 2016 season, there were only 6 teams that took at least 1/3 of their shots from three-point range. In the 2020 NBA season, 28 of the 30 teams did so, with the only teams under the 1/3 mark being the Washington Wizards with 31.9% and San Antonio Spurs with 31.4%. So it's likely that this trend is going to continue, as it shows no signs of slowing at this point. With the NBA celebrating its 75th anniversary this past season, how did we reach a point in the league where three-point shots have come to dominate as much as they have? Now we're going to be talking about some of the teams that have pushed the league forward, becoming the first to cross certain thresholds in regard to the percentage of their shots that came from three-point range, with their coach and where they ranked offensively as well. So to begin, in 1987 to 1988, the Boston Celtics, coached by K.C. Jones, with the #1 offensive ranking in the league, shot 10% of their shots from three-point range. Moving on to 20%, we had multiple teams in 1994 to 95, but the Houston Rockets, coached by Rudy Tomjanovich, actually made it up to 25% with the 6th overall offensive rank in the league. At 30%, it took us until 2002 to 03 to see the Celtics, coached by Jim O'Brien, with the 24th offensive rank in the league, shooting 30% of their shots from three. Finally, in the 2016 to 2017 season, we saw teams finally hitting the 40 and 45% mark of their shots from three-point range, with the Rockets, coached by Mike D'Antoni, hitting both of those marks. Lastly, in 2017 to 2018, we saw the Rockets, coached by D'Antoni again, this time hitting the 50% mark of their teams, shooting 50% of their shots from three, and their team was first in the league offensively. All of these teams that we just discussed won at least one playoff series that year, and players began to work on their spacing on the court, opening up the floor for players to get more space apart from their defenders to shoot. So how is the league adapting to these changes? To take advantage of the new wave of players with developed three-point jump shots, coaches have begun running 5-man lineups featuring smaller players in roles that are typically reserved for big men. If teams do run traditional 2 big-man lineups, at this point in the league, the big man's going to be likely able to shoot. Because of this, the offensive value of NBA centers has diminished after the three-point shot was introduced. Three-point shooting at this point is becoming a necessity for the league's tallest players. So big men are getting better at shooting and shooting more, while teams are also running smaller lineups. So where does basketball go from here? There's a number of exciting players in the league that are up and coming, each with their own individual set of on-court skills, playmaking, shooting, post-play, defense, and rebounding, whatever it is. But what does the future of professional basketball look like? Will players continue to increase their focus on jump shots as opposed to scoring in the post? Or will basketball develop into more of a game without set positions for teams' players? In my opinion, the NBA could go in one of two directions. It could continue to trend in the direction of jump shooting teams dominating the league by shooting a barrage of three-point shots. Or the league could start to shift back towards a focus on big men, as we've seen in the last couple seasons. The league's evolution will really be dependent on the kind of players that develop into stars over the next decade. If more young players continue to develop their long-distance shooting, then the league will continue to trend in that direction. But if several star big men begin dominating the college scene again, some NBA teams may go back to utilizing post play and a back-to-the-basket style that was so prominent in the early days of the NBA. Several teams could return to running lineups that utilize two big men as well due to roster changes or coach preferences. The small ball trend might not be around permanently despite its prevalence in the NBA at this current moment. It's clear, though, that three-pointers are here to stay in the NBA for now, but the future of the league is unclear. Whether it's a return to traditional two big man lineups or a continuation of small ball, basketball is sure to remain exciting. Thank you.